Hello everyone, welcome back to WeXpats TV. I'm your host Rebecca, and today we are going to talk about 3 things that you definitely need to think about before you move to Japan, and whether you're studying abroad in Japan or you're moving to Japan for good, or you're moving to Japan for maybe working holiday or just like work in Japan for anything. Something that you definitely need to think about before you make your decision. So without further ado, let's get it started and talk about it. So these 3 things I really think that you guys have to think about before moving to Japan would be, the first one will be there is a possibility that you will be discriminated, and the second one will be there are a lot of things that it's very hard and inconvenient for foreigners in Japan to do, and the third one will be if you are actually, thinking Japan is a perfect country. So we are going to talk about the first one first, and the first one would be there is a possibility you will be discriminated. So actually, if you think about it, whether you're going to Japan or Taiwan or America or whatsoever, or even Europe, or even in somewhere, maybe let's say Canada, there is possibility of being discriminated in any country, every country. But in Japan, it's a little bit different because it is, in a good way and a bad way, it's a very traditional country. And I really do appreciate the traditional culture of Japan, but also at the same time, because of its very long history of, locking the country, and also have a lot of different complicated situation with a lot of other countries in the world, especially the US and maybe let's say Korea and Germany and all those European countries. So there are some really like deep-rooted discrimination within their way of thinking. So you will definitely need some older generation Japanese who are definitely not okay with foreigners moving to Japan, definitely not okay with foreign workers, and you will meet some people are actually don't mean any bad. They are not meaning, they are not trying to be racist, but they're just not very sure, and they are not very they don't know too much about cultural differences, so it's very hard for them to adjust to that. And the other things, other than being the racism in Japan, there will be a discrimination towards tattoo. And myself do have tattoo, and I'm very lucky that my company is okay with my tattoo, and they're okay with a lot of different things in that sense. But there are most of the Japanese people, especially even the younger generation, some younger generations will think that why do you have to get a tattoo? And then as a lot of people know, that most of the people who have Japanese style tattoo in Japan are yakuzas, are gangsters. So they are different. There are people who are not, but just saying that's like, the most likely situation in Japan to have that kind of style tattoo. So I would definitely recommend people who have tattoo to really do rethink about your situation in Japan. And there will be some harder parts if you're not living in Tokyo, especially if you're working in a countryside, or you're working in somewhere that's not a metropolitan city. I will warn you that people will look at you if you have a lot of tattoos on your hand. And even myself, like if I go to, let's say, somewhere that have a lot of children or a lot of kids, parents will look at my tattoo too. So that's something that you guys need to think about before moving to Japan as well. And just a little bit moving back to that, forward back to the part of being racism in Japan. I will say that I'm very lucky, and I do understand that's my privilege, is that I am Asian, so I do look very Japanese if I want to. So that makes me having a easier time to adjust to the Japanese life here I have. But if you're not Asian and it's a little bit harder for you, and people, especially outside of Tokyo, if you're going to a countryside, people will look at you and they might have some really bad stereotype for you as well. So I would say that's something that most of people need to think about before moving to Japan. But there are a lot of open-minded people in Tokyo as well, so please don't be scared and just don't be scared that much. But it's just something that might happen if you move to Japan in the future. And the second one is, if you're a foreigner in Japan, you have a working visa, you have a student visa, there are a lot of limitations for you if you're going to live here. For example, if you're trying to make a bank account in Japan, if you are not working for a company already, you will have a hard time to make a bank account. And you will have a hard time to get a smartphone contract as well, because you don't have a credit card. And it's very hard for foreigners who have working visa to make a credit card, because they think you might escape back to your country. So that's something you have to think about as well. And other than making credit card, it's very hard. You will also have a hard time finding an apartment. You will have a hard time buying your own estate. in real estate in the future if you want to. So that's also something that I would recommend people to think about before coming here. And if you're okay with, like for myself, it's too hard for me to find an apartment and I just don't want to spend that much time on finding one, so I just use share house and I'm okay with it. And if you're okay with that, I think that's something you don't really have to think about. And if you're working for a company that's already have you know, giving you a lot of help and they're supporting you while like you're transitioning to Japan, then you won't have that much problem while making a bank account or like trying to have a smartphone contract. So that's the second one. And the third one is, are you trying to give Japan a perfect image? Like, let's say, just ask yourself, if you think about Japan, do you think it's a perfect country? And just, you know, ask yourself, do you think your own country is a perfect country? Right? So there's like no perfect country in the world. There is no place that's perfect. There's no place that doesn't have the dark side of it. And especially Japan. And then Tokyo is such a big city that I would say it's a very fun city to live in. I love it. And I think I had a lot of fun here. And then I think it's a very easy to live in city if you don't drive. Like me, I don't like to drive at all. So I think it's very convenient for me to just take the train to anywhere I want and then I can just fly anywhere. It's you know, fairly easy for me to travel as well. So I think it's a very easy to live in city, but do I think Tokyo is perfect? No, it's not. It's definitely not. So if you're looking, if you watch a lot of anime, if you watch a lot of dramas and like movies, you like the idols, you might think it's a very nice country, it's a great country. It is. I think it's a great country. It's very convenient. People are nice. Tokyo is very clean. And then the food here is definitely the best. And you get to have a lot of different kind of food, a lot of different kind of cuisine in one city. So I think that's very convenient for me and I love it. But at the same time, there are a lot of dark side of it. And then let's say if you go to Shinjuku, if you go to like Ikebukuro, if you think about a lot of foreigners and a lot of like people who work in Japan are actually getting treated like unfairly, you will see a lot of bad parts of it as well. So I would recommend people who, if you want to just challenge yourself and move to a different country while you're young, or if you want to experience a really different culture by working there, actually live there, to have a life there, to establish a life here in Japan, I would recommend Tokyo for you. I would recommend Japan for you. But if you do think that if you're idealizing Japan as a country or if you're idealizing Tokyo as a city, I do not recommend you to come if you're doing that at the moment. So yes, I just want people to really think about this decision of moving to Tokyo before you know, making the decision of actually, you know, thinking this is a better, it will definitely make your life better, it will definitely bring a better future for you. I would definitely say you have to really rethink your life decision and to think if it fits your life plan, if it fits your culture, if it will it be too hard for you to adapt to an Asian culture, or if let's say if you're especially if you're Islam, and it will definitely be a bit harder for you to find a place for you to pray during the day if you're working in a company, and you will be a little bit harder for you to find something to eat outside of the office as well in the restaurants. So I would say that at the end of this video, I just want everybody to know I'm not trying to scare you off, and I would still want people to move to Japan because I think it's a great place with a lot of different opportunities. And then well, not right now during the pandemic, but it is a place full of opportunities, and I think it's a very different and very fascinating country and a fascinating city. Tokyo it is. So I would definitely recommend you guys to have established a life here if you want to challenge yourself and want to experience something very different. So I still do want to recommend you guys, but I want you guys to think about the life decision first and stop idealize it as well. So yeah, please let us know what do you think about this kind of video. If you want me to talk about more on these social problems in Japan, I would definitely make it as well. And I thank you guys for watching. Please do thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Bye!